Give a round of applause for our men and women who defend this country. Thank you and welcome, everyone. Please be seated. My name is Brian Kenner. I am the Deputy Mayor for Planning and Economic Development, and I am here to welcome you all to the official signing ceremony for the Walter Reed Army Medical Center. To say that this project has been a long time in the making would be an understatement, I think, for many of the people who are here. I was at already one joyous event in Ward 4 recently for the Emory Beacon Center of Light project, and I'm at another Ward 4 project. I don't know if that has something to do with Ward 4 or not, but I'm very happy to be here and happy to represent really many of the people who came before me to make this day possible. There will probably be lots of thank yous today, so you may have to get used to that a little bit. Obviously, we need to first of all start with Mayor Bowser. Through her leadership, we were able to get to this point today. Thank you. In addition, the leadership of Congresswoman Norton, who we'll hear from a little bit later, again, over many years, it takes leadership as well as determination to make sure that events like this are possible. So we very much want to thank Congresswoman for your leadership on this issue. And the third woman, as though that is a trend, the third woman that we do want to thank is Assistant Secretary Katherine Hammack from the Army, who has been around this project for many years and has made sure that it remained a priority from the Army's perspective. So, Secretary, we thank you very much for your work. I think in the military there's a saying that says, avoid being the first, the last, and the volunteer. I am first, middle, and last, so somehow, I don't know how that happened, but the Walter Reed Project actually also has a bit of a special place for me. The first time I came onto the campus and was associated with it was in 2001. I was a consultant for Ernst & Young, and I worked for the then Garrison Commander Alan King here at Walter Reed. And one of the things that I remember the first time that I came onto this campus, for those folks who are not familiar, a Garrison Commander is effectively the mayor of a military installation, is how much pride he had in the people that worked on this campus, the people who lived on this campus, the people who he really considered residents of this campus, because of the awesome responsibility they had for the health care of many of the people who defend this country. And I think it's with that same sense of determination that we have tried to be thoughtful about where this project is eventually going to go, as well as the kinds of components that we think are going to be impactful to the surrounding community. The Deputy Mayor's Office has had a number of different large-scale projects that we have continued to try to move forward. McMillan, Capitol Crossing, the St. Elizabeth's project. The Walter Reed project has been an especially large project, not just because of the 100 acres or so that this campus includes, but also the fact that we've got a number of different partners that we have to work with in order to make sure that it is successful. I know that we've had to work extensively with the Department of the Army, worked extensively with the Office of the Secretary of Defense. We've worked in coordination with the Department of State. And then we've had a very robust community process to ensure that we listen to the residents in terms of what could go here. I know that I think in our listing we've had roughly about 100 or so community meetings that have helped to frame what the ultimate project is going to be here at Walter Reed. And I think that, again, just speaks to the determination of us to make sure that we are listening to people as it relates to where this project is going to go and how it's going to be successful. I probably will get to some of my other thank yous a little bit later, so I'm not going to bore you all with that right this second. But I do want to take this opportunity to welcome and introduce up the mayor. I think that projects like this do not happen lightly. They do not happen without great determination, leadership, a lot of creativity, because there are a number of challenges that present themselves with projects like this. And when you have somebody who's seen this project both as an ANC member, a Ward 4 council member, and now as mayor, I think that it is highly unlikely that there will ever be a project, this impactful in Washington, D.C. as Walter Reed. But I also think that it is highly unlikely that you will see a leader as determined to see a project to fruition as our mayor. So I would like to welcome up Mayor Muriel Bowser. Thank you. Thank you.
Well, good afternoon, everybody. Isn't she lovely? Isn't she lovely? Look at our beautiful campus right here in the heart of Ward 4. And I am just so delighted to see so many people here to celebrate this tremendous milestone in our path to developing this campus for the benefit of district residents. I am also honored to thank Deputy Mayor Brian Kenner for his leadership. The Deputy Mayor leads what I call the big deal team. And you have to have a big deal team to get things done. And one of the things that we were determined to do when you gave me the opportunity to be mayor was to make sure we focused on our big projects, the things that needed to move forward, to get through hurdles, and to make sure they happen. We're also focused on the neighborhood projects, the things that when I go to community meetings, people are talking to me day in and day out about when are we going to see progress on this. But of course, we wanted to make sure that this tremendous opportunity here at Walter Reed advanced and moved forward. So Brian recalls being here in 2001. I became involved in this project in 2007. And then the Congresswoman will remember that the federal government had made a decision to move our hospital and to move it up to Bethesda. But they were also considering keeping the whole thing for themselves. All 100 acres to stay a federal property. And we thought that, well, that almost never happens in a BRAC process. And that certainly isn't in the best interest of D.C. residents. So then as a council member, I worked very hard with our Office of Planning just to come up with some concepts. What if we just had the frontage of Georgia Avenue to benefit Ward 4 residents? What could that look like? We included that concept in our Upper Georgia Avenue plan. And lo and behold, we sold the idea that the District of Columbia had to have a part in the development of the Walter Reed campus. And as I like to say, no offense to the State Department, we got the best part of Walter Reed coming your way. And so please give a hand to all the residents, our Congresswoman, the Army. Give a big hand because you all have worked hard to get us here. Now, I said I got involved in 2007. The community, I think, got involved in 2005 when the discussion was still there. And I know there will be many community members here who participated in the very first advisory committee for Walter Reed. Along the way, I appointed some advisory committee members. I know Councilmember Todd has been very focused on making sure our committee has what it needs and that it's codified in our law what the role of the committee has been. So when I talk about pride in Ward 4 residents and what you have been able to accomplish here, I frequently point to this project as an example for the whole city of how community engagement can happen on large tract developments. Because yes, there were a lot of meetings. Yes, there was some disagreement about this thing or the other thing. And yes, the community, the ANC commissioners, we're the Ward 4 ANC commissioners who've been involved in this for the last 10 years. Thank you. But you know what? They voted unanimously, I believe, to support this project. And when it got to the Council of the District of Columbia, guess what? I was on the council then. We voted unanimously, too. In all of the votes that we brought before the city, the community stood there to say, we've had our say, and this development is going to enhance our lives right here in Ward 4. What I also know about this project is that it will become a destination for people in the upper part of the District of Columbia, where you will have shopping and dining and housing of all varieties right here. We know we have opportunities for wonderful park and recreation space and the ability to move people where we haven't had it for many years across this campus as well. We know that we will have over 3 million square feet of development, 5,000 jobs, 21 units of housing. Sometimes we talk about units of housing when we really should be talking about people. I can't tell you how often I go around the District of Columbia and people love our progress. They love what's happening. What they want to make sure they have a place in that progress. And top on the agenda is affordable housing. So because of your creativity and your willingness to roll up your sleeves, Ward 4, and all the residents that have been involved in this, we're going to have over 400 units of affordable housing created right here at Walter Reed. And we're also going to have opportunities for people to buy homes right here at Walter Reed. And that's very important, too. And we have been concerned about the impact of so many thousands of employees, Secretary, leaving Walter Reed. And our business owners have really hung in there to make sure that they could continue to provide services to all the people who live here. So I want to thank them for hanging in. I want to thank everybody for supporting Georgia Avenue businesses. And I have a little test to see when I see business picking up. I call it the Lido's test. And I see the owners of Lido's here. The Lido's test, I always go in and ask the Shies, how's business? If they're not there, I just look around and I can see business picking up. And so I know that's because activity now is happening here at Walter Reed. We have our fire station being built across the street. And so next year, I think we're going to open our $12 million new fire facility that has been promised to our fire department for over 15 years. There's a private development that has already started across the street. So we see more activity. And when you have more activity, our businesses will continue to thrive. So we are very happy about that. We are also pleased that so many very worthy organizations participated in the public benefits process here at Walter Reed so that we will be able to make sure there's housing for veterans. There's a place to focus on getting people who need a second chance into housing, and that's going to happen here at Walter Reed. And then we will have a wonderful school. Yes, that's good, right? Great school. The community was very supportive of making sure a very extraordinary school could grow here on this campus. And the DC International School is already on campus and preparing their building for students to enter next school year. So let's give a hand to all the DCI parents who have been very focused on making sure. Can you imagine the children are going to have a wonderful experience on this bucolic campus as high schoolers, and we're very proud of them too. But we could do none of this without the support of a lot of people. So I want to thank Councilmember Todd, who has picked up the baton and is on us all the time to make sure we are on track delivering for Ward 4. Councilmember. I also want to recognize two at-large council members, Councilmember Anita Bonds, who has arrived, and Councilmember Robert White. So thank you, council members, for being here. And let me just say a note about Secretary Hammack, who I know has on pink shoes. So you know we're going to get some things done, the lady with pink shoes. But more than that, when you deal with a big organization like the Army and you're the mayor, you want to always make sure you're talking to the decision maker before you invite 200 people to celebrate the transfer. So I said, Deputy Mayor, we're going to have to talk to Secretary Hammack. And I talked to Congresswoman Norton. I said, Congresswoman Norton, I'm going to talk to Secretary Hammack. I may have to call you, but I'm going to talk to Secretary Hammack. And what she said is, I have a busy travel schedule. She has to go all around the world for the Army, and I'll be traveling at the end of October. But why don't we pick this date, because I want to be there. And when she said I want to be there, I knew we had a deal. I knew this transfer was going to happen, and the best part of Walter Reed would be coming to the residents of the District of Columbia. And I want to thank our Congresswoman, because what I have known is representing you in the council and now as mayor, we have so many federal assets in the District of Columbia, and she uses all her smarts and expertise to make sure that we are taken care of, and she does it for us each and every day. And it brings me great privilege and honor to introduce our Congresswoman, Eleanor Holmes Norton.
Thank you, Mayor Bowser. Probably for no one here is this a more glorious day than for you. I mean, you have charted your whole community service, your whole public service with this project. Also, Councilmember Todd, Brendan Todd, Madam Secretary, and especially the ANC commissioners, other elected officials, and residents of Ward 4. When people think of me and my service in the Congress, they don't think of the GSA committee on which I serve in order to make sure that whatever land the federal government has, DC gets to use. They will probably, if you say, well, what do you think of Eleanor Norton when you think of Congress? They say statehood. Well, that's good too. And especially now as we prepare for elections and we see statehood, yes, and we want everybody to vote for statehood, we're going to vote ourselves statehood. One of the biggest vote we can get on that one. But the truth be told, I spend most of my time not working for the long-term projects, but for what the district needs every day. To give you an example of midterm projects, legislative autonomy, budget autonomy. But actually, when it comes to day-to-day matters in the Congress, DC sends me here to make sure that the House of Representatives allows me to bring home benefits for this city. And Walter Reed, this federal site, is a very good example. It was to be closed as part of the base alignment closure. And we never know what's going to happen. But the first thing that happens is that we don't have enough space to house federal agencies. Therefore, we have much leased space. which adds cost to taxpayers. Just as in your home, if you own your home, you're better off than if you're paying rent to somebody else. So I have been working since 2006 on base realignment as to what would happen to this federal property located in Upper Georgia Avenue. All you have to do is look at this splendid neighborhood, basically residential, to know that while it may need housing and other amenities, it certainly needs a commercial base. So the first thing I tried to do was to get the entire site for the District of Columbia. And I almost succeeded. And GSA claimed, no, we can't do that. We've got to keep at least part of the site. Ultimately, they were successful in allowing the State Department to take the 16th Street site. But we still got the lion's share with 67 acres of this site. The way in which I do have to tell you what I pulled on GSA to make them understand when they gave us a small portion that they should enlarge it so that we now have more than 2/3. I said, you cannot put federal agencies there because the rules of GSA and the federal government is that it has to be near a subway. So there. Y'all didn't build no subway up here? So I don't see how you can break your own rule and put federal workers here. You'll have to have shuttles back and forth from subways. That's really how we got to have 67 acres. They could not violate their own rules. Glad to see that the federal government does understand that. I do want to say that the district has asserted ownership already here, and perhaps in the very best way, because they signed the deed for the DC Fire and Emergency Medical Services Engine Company number 2. So they began here with something that the community badly needs. That was done in 2014. When you see this wonderful site and all the possibilities here, for anyone with a sense of how to remake this site, you will understand what an important opportunity it is for the district. The last thing I had to do was there was a lab site here. And we had to fight with the State Department. Somehow they wanted to take this state-of-the-art lab and tear it down. But it could be a public benefit corporation for Children's Hospital. So the last fight was with the State Department. You can have the rest of it. We want this lab for Children's Hospital to help our children be well, stay well, and become well. So I congratulate Mayor Bowser, the City Council, for the work it has taken over now more than 10 years to get to where we are. I thank the Army for working so closely with us all these years. And I think when you see what the district proposes as its vision come alive on this campus, you will be able to turn to the federal government and say, we were right. This land belonged with the residents of the District of Columbia. Thank you.
I'm going to try to do this Academy Awards style. I'm going to name a whole bunch of people that some people know and some people don't, but trust me, the project would not have happened had these people not actually been involved with this. And I've already instructed the band they can start playing if I get a little bit too long in this. First and foremost, just want to thank the project, the way that it's structured, would not be possible without our development partners. And I believe all of them are here. Representing Hines Development is Chuck Waters, Urban Atlantic is Vicki Davis, and Scott Nordheimer, I believe, and Michael from Triton is also here. So thank you, the development partners, for making this project 100% possible. There were a slew of Walter Reed executive directors that have had purview over this project. Dale Smith, I think I saw Eric Jenkins is here, Martine Comball, and finally our current one, Randall Clark. So thank you all very much for making this project possible. Okay, this is the part where I'm going to go really fast. So we've got Derek Woody, we've got Harriet Tregoning, Gabe Klein, Terry Bellamy, Ellen McCarthy, Neil Albert, Valerie Santos, Victor Hoskins, Jason Cross, Johannes Fuller, Reina Aloro, Anna Shapiro, Jen Castor, Susan Longstreet. Those are all internal people, but trust me, those people were critical to making sure that this project happened. Awesome. Saroshal Padwala, David Fisher, Jeff DeWitt, John Ross, Betsy Keeler, Darren Sharp, Anita Hairston, Rosalind Hewley, Greer Gillis, Anna Chamberlain, Rob Hawkins from previous Councilmember Bowser's office, current Deputy Chief of Staff in the Mayor's office, was an excellent representative for the Ward 4 Councilmember at the time in terms of making the project happen. Stan Jackson, Matt Brown, Melinda Bowling, Javier Beltran, Emily Morris, Polly Donaldson, Arthur Espinoza, Joaquin McPeak, Kate Hardig. I think I see DOEE Director Tommy Wells here as well. Thank you, all of you all, for making sure that this project actually happened on time as it should have. A host of resident members have either been a part of the LRA itself, which was actually constituted twice, as well as the Community Action Committee, or otherwise known as the CAC. I will not name everybody, and I apologize if I'm missing some people, but Tim Shy, who I think I see back there, Alice Giancola, Brenda Speaks, Joe Membrino, who I believe has moved away at this point, Faith Wheeler, Annie Watley, Steve Watley, Dwayne Tolliver, Camille Anderson, Layla Batiste, Margaret Singleton. Thank you all very much for all of your work over the years to make sure that this project came to fruition. As I said, I probably mentioned hopefully lots of people. I know I missed some other people. The band didn't play, so I'm going to continue to call that a win today. I want to next welcome up the current Ward 4 Councilmember, Brandon Todd, who, as the mayor mentioned, in a good way, has been on the Deputy Mayor's office ever since he took office to make sure that this project remained a priority for us and made sure that the residents of Ward 4's voices were always at the table in terms of what was going to happen next. So we appreciate his efforts, and I'd like to welcome up Brandon Todd.
Good afternoon, Ward 4. Isn't it a great day to be a Ward 4 or a district resident? Yes, it is. Well, I really couldn't be more delighted than to be here as the Ward 4 council member representing the best 82,532 residents in the District of Columbia. And we are really excited and delighted to have the opportunity to host which will be the greatest single economic development opportunity that this end of the city of Washington, D.C., and certainly the entire city will see for a long time coming. So let's give a big round of applause for Walter Reed and Ward 4 residents. I would like to thank Mayor Bowser, who has worked on this project for a very long time. I had the opportunity when I worked on her council staff to work alongside her to make sure that we and she was delivering Walter Reed for the last 9 years to the residents of Ward 4. And certainly thank you for your focus as mayor of the District of Columbia. Deputy Mayor Brian Kenner, yes, I called the deputy mayor probably every week until he gave me a date today. And so thank you for accepting my calls, Deputy Mayor, and for your focus and for your whole team at DEMPED. And thank you, Congresswoman Norton, for fighting to make sure that good federal properties like this can come to the residents of the District of Columbia. And certainly to the Honorable Katherine Hammack, thank you for being a partner with the district government. Also to Advisory Neighborhood Commission 4A and Advisory Neighborhood Commission 4B and the LRA and the CAC and many community members that have participated in hundreds of community meetings over the last decade and been very focused and had a seat at the table to ensure that this 66 acres, 2,100 units of new housing, a brand new school opportunity. And I don't think many people in the city can say they acquire parks. And we will have the opportunity to acquire new green space right here in Ward 4. And a couple of things when the mayor spoke stuck out at me. 5 million square feet of development, 5 6,000 new DC jobs and 21 units of housing and over 400 to be affordable housing. That's a lot of hard work from a lot of fantastic people in the government of the District of Columbia. So I'm extremely excited to be here today. I'm extremely excited to carry the baton of Walter Reed on behalf of the residents of Ward 4, and we're going to make this the best economic development opportunity that the city will ever see again. And I would now like to call up the Honorable Katherine Hammack, Assistant Secretary of the Army.
Well, I'm going to say good afternoon once again. Good afternoon. And I want to start by thanking the Army Band for the music they provided and the great job they do every day. But as been said, today marks a new chapter in the history of former Walter Reed National Medical Center, as well as the District of Columbia and its citizens. And it's significant that we're making the transfer on this date, October 26th, because I always like to see what else happened on this date historically. So, 22 years ago today, there was an accord signed between the countries of Jordan and Israel, which brought broader cooperation between the two countries, primarily tourism and trade. And so I see a similarity here today with a proclamation that provides for an increase in commercial activities, an increase in residential activities, an increase in trade to benefit the city of Washington, D.C., also to the benefit of the military who likes to see the property reused, likes to see some of the historic character that truly represents this nation preserved. And that's one of the wonderful things that is going on here today. Because if you think of it, the history of this medical center traces back to the early 19th century or mid-19th century, because it was during the Civil War that the Army identified the need for a hospital in this area. And so when the land was purchased in 1905, this area was woodlands and farmland and summer estates. It's certainly not the case today, although in the glen we're seated in, you can imagine what it looked like in that day, in that era. This hospital is named after Major Walter Reed, who was a leading researcher who identified that yellow fever was transmitted by mosquitoes, and his research went on to save countless lives. But his name carries on. This was named after his death by his best friend, Major Borden, who became commander of this base and really worked to ensure that he was recognized for his legacy and his contribution. Walter Reed opened its doors on May 1st, 1909. Now, it started out fairly small with a capacity of about 80 patient beds, but World War I saw it expand to over 2,500 in just a matter of months. And through later conflicts, World War II, Korea, Vietnam, at its peak, this base saw in 1 year 153,000 patients. Hundreds of thousands of injured American soldiers came through here and were treated here at Walter Reed. Some went on to stay in this area because they fell in love with the District of Columbia. The list of memorable individuals who spent their last days here is really synonymous with American history. General Pershing, who is one of the few five-star generals in the Army, lived at Walter Reed from 1944 until his death in 1948. Former President Dwight Eisenhower, also a five-star general, he spent 22 months here after he'd had several heart attacks, had a heart attack while he was here, and passed away. General Douglas MacArthur, another 5-star, and I'm not saying there are only 5-star generals came here, but there's only 5 of them in the history of the Army, and it's interesting that 3 of them, the last one, Douglas MacArthur, spent their last days here. It's a testament to the quality of medical care that this facility has provided. Another one, Creighton Abrams, who the Abrams tank is named after, spent his last days here. And then I found it most interesting, a gentleman named Leslie Groves, who was the architect, Army Corps of Engineers general, who oversaw the construction of both the Pentagon and the Manhattan Project. In 2005, as was said before, the BRAC Commission looked at how we can consolidate our medical facilities, consolidate them across all of the military services. And so by September of 2011, this facility closed and a new joint operational medical facility opened in Bethesda. It's now named Walter Reed National Military Medical Center. It's quite difficult to say really fast, but it's on the campus of what was the National Naval Medical Center. The imminent transfer here of 66 acres from the Army to the District of Columbia really does mark a new chapter in the history of this area. And this new chapter is really about economic rebirth. Some of these historic buildings will be put to new uses. You can see the name of the building behind us here. That's a name that will live on, although the purpose of the building may change. Other parts of this base will be changed as you see new development go on, new development that brings in residential, commercial, and other trade opportunities for homeless to accommodate those in our city. The District of Columbia really has put together an economic development plan with the potential to create new jobs and really transform this area. And so the Army recognizes and really appreciates the hard work done by the district to develop a vision, a transformational vision. And I'm proud of the collaborative efforts between the district, Mayor Bowser's office, her staff of professionals. Brian, turns out I've known him for 15 or more years because we used to work together. It's a very small world when you think of it. But it did take a team of professionals focused on it. And I would like to recognize from my team, a real estate team led by Mr. Paul Kramer, also Andy Napoli, who've spent hours working on this. And then also the project manager, Marcus Craig, who really is a lead here. And I've got to say that you have a Congresswoman, Eleanor Holmes Norton, who really is focused on the benefits of the district, who really represents you well. Thank you very much. So the redevelopment here is going to happen. The deed is going to be signed, and we are going to move on. So God bless you. God bless the men and women serving in harm's way around the world. And God bless the United States of America.
Thank you, Secretary Hammack. One person, as I'm often to do, that I forgot is Malika Abernathy to thank, who has been incredibly passionate, both as the Office of Planning Ward 4 planner, as well as playing a part now in the redevelopment for Walter Reed. I know that some people may be asking, so what's next on the campus? We've heard a lot about what will happen, but what is going to happen most immediately on the campus? As you probably, if you came up Luzon Street in particular, you probably saw some signs for some construction work that's already started to begin for the DC International School, which again will be at its end, it'll be 130,000 square feet historic redevelopment and expansion of the Delano Hall, and then that will ultimately house about 1,500 or so children. We think that process has already started in terms of construction. It will continue to occur. both this fall as well as into early next year. We fully anticipate that the school will be done in 2017, and you'll start seeing activity there. This fall, we're also, in coordination with the Office of Planning, there's a creative placemaking activation that will start to occur. So you'll start to see more things happening on this campus even this fall. Next year, in the spring of 2017, we will have a major groundbreaking with the developer that will move forward in the first real estate phases of this project. We will probably also, sometime in the spring or summer, have some additional groundbreakings for some other portions of the campus. If you came in the main entrance, you probably saw the hospital structure. We will begin demolition of the hospital structure in the summer of 2017. And again, all of these activities make way for what ultimately will be millions of square feet of redevelopment, hundreds of acres of opportunity for jobs and so forth, new green space being found in Ward 4, places for children to call not only home but also to go to school. So it's a very unique project in that way. At this time, I would like to invite up the mayor and Secretary Hammack to have the ceremonial signing. I'd perhaps first like to just make sure that they are up here alone, and then as soon as some of those pictures have occurred, we'll invite some additional folks up to stand behind them.
Excuse me. Let's. You got to sit down, please.
And I'd like to ask Councilmember Todd as well as Congresswoman Norton if they could please come up, as well as any other guests that Secretary Hammack you'd like to see come up. Also ask Randall Clark and Malika to come up, as well as some of the former Walter Reed LRA directors, if Eric Jenkins, Martine Combal could come up. I'm sorry? Marcus Craig. Council members. Got to get a little consolidated over there. Got to get a little tighter. Got to get a little tighter. Everybody's got to get a little tighter.
We're used to being in the back. We're getting the back here.
Everybody's in. Everybody's in. Everybody's in.
Right here.
Thank you very much for coming today and celebrating with us the official transfer, ceremonial transfer of the Walter Reed campus. We hope that you have a wonderful day, and thank you again for sharing this opportunity with us. I apologize, sir. I can't get everybody.